afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. Get my hearing aids. I forgot them there. No, no. I'll go through this list. Hi, Ruthan. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out something out. I'm not really with it. I'm here. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Oh, God. How are you doing, Ruthan? Let me have a look. Well, it would be funny, to be honest. I'm not too sure. But I hope you're okay. Sorry, I wasn't with it. I'm just kind of stressed out a little bit, that's all. Arthritis in your feet? Oh, that can't be good. it's not him. No, it's not him. It's everything going on with me. Yes, we can. We have something different tonight. Yes, we can. I feel like playing that too. The price is wrong. Not the price is right. The price is wrong. Oh dear. No, my head's all over the place right now. Well, at least I managed to do this a little bit. It's just it's like, how can I put it? It's been a whole nearly a year and a bit now since I've had the stomach problem, and I'm still going through it. I'm kind of sort of figuring out what's going on, but I'm waiting for that appointment so that I can get organised and everything seems to be getting on top of me at the moment. So plus it's mum's anniversary coming up. Which is on the 8th. But you know me. No. No, it's not Gary's cooking. He actually cooks some nice meals. I mean, I even changed my diet and everything, you know. It's still going on, and I'm like, what the frig? So it's not my diet, it's not me bleeding medication. It's like, what the friggin' hell is it? It's just like, I want to get my life back. Do you know what I mean? It's just... It's just getting beyond the joke now. If that makes sense. Mind you, I like Gary's cooking. Makes some nice pasta dishes. Nope, hang on. Oh, this is the arch bit. So that must go there then. No? No. No. I'm just saying no. 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 Bit. Oh, lovely pasta dishes. Oh my god. My most favourite one is pesto pasta dish. Um, Not today. Yesterday we did. We did most of the work, helping our neighbour out. Gary's been, we was prepping the patio, because the patios were really, really, honestly, it was, I never known anything quite like it. All the weeds are coming up from, you know, from the patio, in between the patios, the slabs. So we cleared the top part, and Gary started doing the pointing with the cement and sand mix. So he's re-pointing them. And tomorrow I've got to do the bottom part, getting all the weeds up. So yeah, that's the only place I ever find peace. As in, like, if I ever find in my peace zone. I don't know why, it's whenever I do the gardening work, I just like zone out. Therapeutic, I think that's the word I was looking for. I'm just happy that my huh? Nothing wrong with your cooking. You can see, you know, Ruthann. We love you. Yeah, so we're just, you know, trying to get things right for our neighbours. I'm just happy that my neighbour's green bin is emptied. It was getting a bit too heavy. It was heavy last night. Jesus. I shouldn't be really lifting heavy stuff, but no, I like my gardening work, but I could do my own. I gotta do my own, yeah. That'll probably be the weekend, but the weekend we've got is rain apparently. Yep. Saturday, Sunday and Monday we got rain. So tomorrow is the only good day. And then from Tuesday it's going to be sunny and warm again. Hey? Apparently we're going to have another bloody 41-degree heat wave. I freaking barely hope not. I believe that when I see it.
Yeah, can we play Crouching Strike tonight, please?
Yes. I've had enough of word games. I've had enough of word...
Spell.
Huh?
I can't spell.
Me neither.
Hiya, princess. Here's your dinner.
Oh,
I
you're
can't spell
hungry.
either.
Good girl. You can have some treats in a minute. What?
I can't spell either.
Oh, Ruthann, if he's still there. I'm not stressing you out.
No, you're not.
I've been fucking out working all day.
It's just me, innit?
Yes. Only if you promise not to run off. Promise? High five, promise? Promise? Yeah?
I am my sister Nicole.
And pigeons are on that fucking lamp again. Pigeon porn, he's trying it on with her, he's wooing her. She's alright, she's flown off now, she's had enough and she's pissed off with him.
They were trying. There was two trying to go on there anyway.
Yeah. Smudgy,
Smudge.
any treats? Any treats?
Come up.
You're doing it to some other bird now. Come on, Smudge. What are you doing now? Look. You get your treats. Come on. Yeah. Play with feathers, get your arse tickled. Hey, kitty. Yes, I know. Yeah, and you didn't run off. Good girl. Hi, Nicole. Yeah, they're up on lamp. He was bowing to her and showing his tail and everything, and she's just like, yeah, whatever, and flew off. It's like, poor bastard. Put all that work in.
Oh.
Hey, kitty, kitty, kitty. Get a belly rub. There you go. There's some treats.
My neighbour was telling me about
Trees.
the pigeons.
Yeah.
She's telling you all her problems.
Yeah, it's yours. Yeah. Good girl. Oh, it's open. Come on, quick. Yeah, now. Yeah, now.
Who's telling you who what, where, why?
Come on. Smudgy. Come on. Did you fancy just pan and brush back?
Yep.
Pinky treat. There you go. There you
Oh,
go.
Smudgy's telling Gary all her problems.
Hey?
Rose just wanted to go out for a little bit. I don't let her out very long though. She runs off.
Fucking knackered. There's your drink. There's your drink. There's your fresh drink. Drink. Not bad. fucking right blister on my hand now. The belly rub. Yeah. Ah, he's a good girl. Wanna go watch the babies? No. You wanna watch the babies? Eh? Yeah. Yeah. Oh. What do you want for dinner?
I don't know.
Half a pound of sausage.
I don't know what to have for dinner.
It'll be interesting when I lift them flags up. See what's underneath, because it's just a fucking hole. I don't even know how them flags are staying up. We have to send that parcel back tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you send it back repaired, yeah, just take it in, trade it in. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, how are you, Nicole? How are you doing today? Oh, legs. Your legs are killing me. That looks about right. Ish. Nearly. Almost. Oh, yeah. Oh. That not going that then?
No.
Oh, that way. No. No. Yeah, it isn't too bad actually. Good. Good. Good, good, good. I'm doing pointing all day. You know. Weeks and weeks of it to go. Yeah. Aha! Hello, Rufan. How you doing?
You had another phone call. Busy, busy me. Was she talking to the birds?
No,
just now?
there was a pigeon flying over. Fucking everywhere.
Well, my neighbour was asking about they've got different feathers on some of them. I said,
Yeah, because they're different pigeons.
or there could be
They're
doves.
different now because I've been watching them. There's doves and other pigeons coming in.
That's what I said.
Oh dear. Fucking hell. Oh. Fucking blister. We'll have to pop that. Or pin feathers. Doing good. It's not my cooking, I be a cheeky mare.
No, it's not you cooking, I did say.
That was easy. Dun. That's what he said.
No, it's not.
Ah, good girl. Come on. You're in the window. There you go. No. 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 All about the he said, she said bullshit. There'd be loads what you're missing out because there'd be load up here. Should you join it all together? Join up. You're joining it up. And you're going to find all the top pieces, which are like.
I'm just going through it normally. Yeah. Oops. My.
Oh, that I haven't gathered, look. Ham. That's a big ham. That's a big I am. Soft as all that. Boiling up a big smoked ham.
He said, she said.
Bullshit. Oh, big ham on the boil.
Ooh.
What? That's upside down. No, the whole thing is upside down. Bullshit.
Huh. Oh, well, we always get all those things, don't we, Nicole?
Butter and my biscuit. Oh, you didn't get butter. Butter!
Yes, I did.
Yes, I did. Excuse me.
Uh-huh.
So you still don't know what you want for dinner?
No.
I forgot I've made that.
Skip marking my pickup truck. Barry Love Pump.
Who is it? Did I put the #1 single by Barry Love Pump? I forgot about
A love
that.
song that went straight to #1 from the #1 album, Sniff My Sticky Mark.
I forgot about that. I mean, I'm only fans. I forgot I'd done that. I'd have seen that. Oops.
Oh my god. Oh my god. See? He leaves things lying around.
Yeah, I do stuff. I know I randomly do leave stuff lying about.
Yes, hello baby.
Hey, cat.
What are you doing? Yeah, he leaves notes lying around and it's just like totally amusing and he forgets what he done.
That's why I came up with that name, Barry Love Pump.
Totally random. Oh, dear.
Hey, kitty. How you doing? Okay, baby. That's higher up, isn't it? Or upside down. That way, isn't it? On a pillar.
Hang on. It must be for that.
Yeah. Ish.
No?
No.
Almost.
No. Is it for this? No. But it's a piece of fencing to keep it. Find it a bit, love. Nope. Shit lying around everywhere.
I know he does that. And then all of a sudden, if we're clearing something out, it's like, what the hell is this? Makes you laugh though.
Anyway. Big smoke town. Sure, you're on turn.
Huh?
You're getting good at filling holes in. need a load more of them, but I don't know where to put them. Put them somewhere.
Mm.
Okay, Refan, you take care and
See you later.
enjoy the rest of your day.
See you later. And yes, I'll definitely have that on.
What? Crassy's wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, she's sat there waiting. There's a little blackbird what comes in the bottom corner of the garden. It's
Oh.
going through the leaf litter. Flicks it over looking for worms. She watches him every day. There's that birdie. Are you getting it done?
Yeah. Just
As long as I'll keep cooking that gammon, I'll get that done. Get some sugar in that cement mill.
Madeleine Murray O'Hair was America's best-known atheist, principally responsible for abolishing prayer in public schools.
Madeleine, you either liked her or you hated her.
In 1995, Madeleine Murray O'Hair mysteriously disappeared from her Texas home along with her son John Murray and granddaughter Robin. Over $600,000 of their organization's money disappeared along with them.
What is it not to love about this story? It involves greed, it involves gold, it involves the most hated woman in America. This is a sexy story, and we should tell it.
It was a local newspaper reporter playing forensic detective who helped solve the case. Madeline Murray O'Hare was often called the most hated woman in America.
Mr. Withers, is this a form of harassment? If it is, I will leave.
I am creating the record.
No, you're not creating the
Yes,
record.
I am.
You are wasting my time.
These are...
When you're done reading that, call me. I'll be in the ladies' room.
Is it your understanding then that you have brought no
Call
documents
me
today?
in the ladies' room when you're done.
She was an avowed atheist who achieved fame in 1963 by opposing prayer in public schools. She took her case all the way to the United States Supreme Court and won. She founded the non-profit group, the American Atheists, as well as a magazine preaching the gospel of strict separation of church and state. She also wrote articles for Larry Flint's Hustler magazine and was the subject of a Playboy magazine interview. Madeline O'Hare was a difficult woman to work with and was notorious for speaking her mind.
All right, then. Don't with me.
I have never encountered a more bitter, more distasteful person than Madeline Murray O'Hare.
Don't touch me.
She was extremely foul-mouthed to the point that even though we were doing an interview about something that she wanted us to do a story on, we had to stop the interview in the middle because she was cursing so much.
Here. You have a limited opportunity this morning to ask me questions. Why don't you get to the questions?
In August of 1995, 77-year-old Madeline, her 40-year-old son John, and 30-year-old granddaughter Robin left Austin, Texas, without saying a word to anyone. The staff of the American Atheist Organization found a note on their office door saying the O'Hares had been called away for an emergency and didn't know when they would return. John's Mercedes-Benz and Robin's Porsche were gone too, but they left their passports behind, as well as Madeline's diabetes medicine and her 3 dogs.
Madeline may not have cared very much for people, but she sure loved those dogs, we were told.
Couldn't get in touch with them, and I got concerned, so I started making phone calls, and then I called John's cell phone, and that's when Madeline answered.
But Madeline wouldn't tell board member Ellen Johnson where she was. Johnson said the calls were short and strained, and she worried that Madeline and her son were under some sort of duress.
I questioned him about what was going on, and he tried to reassure me that everything was okay, and I believed it.
Just 1 month later, Madeline and John stopped answering their cell phone calls. When Ellen Johnson took over the American Atheist group in Madeline's absence, she discovered that since the O'Hares disappeared, more than $600,000 was missing from the organization's bank account.
Suddenly, you have 3 people and a very large amount of money all disappearing at the same time, and this makes it far more interesting.
John McCormick covered the disappearance for the Express News in San Antonio, Texas.
Among the atheists, there was a very peculiar silence, but beneath it was a very profound concern. They were very concerned. They didn't know what to do. They hadn't really attempted to get any help from law enforcement.
No one associated with the American Atheists reported the 3 missing, and it wasn't until a year later that Bill Murray, Madeline's estranged son, filed a missing persons report with Austin police. Madeline and Bill had a rocky relationship. In 1980, on Mother's Day, Bill told Madeline that he had embraced Christianity and was no longer an atheist. He then went public, writing a book and making a film attacking his mother's beliefs.
My mother loved confrontations, and she never hesitated to use me as an accomplice in her schemes. She wanted to push the school prayer issue as far as she could so she instructed me to keep a record of prayer and Bible reading at school. It was here in my home my mother made me a spy for the cause of atheism.
Madeline immediately disowned him, and Bill never again spoke with his mother, his brother John, or his daughter Robin. Bill didn't know if his family's disappearance was foul play or if they had stolen the atheist's money and fled. A year after Madeline Murray O'Hare disappeared with her son John Murray and granddaughter Robin, journalist John McCormick learned what the American Atheist Group already knew, that John Murray had withdrawn over $600,000 from the Atheist bank account just weeks after the three disappeared. McCormick also examined John's cell phone records, which indicated he had been living in San Antonio, Texas, after his disappearance. Many of the 200 calls were suspicious.
They've been calling financial institutions, they've been calling airlines, they've been calling drugstores to get Madeline's prescriptions. There were more than 150 calls. They called jewelry stores.
One of those jewelry stores was on Frederickson Road in San Antonio. The owner said that John Murray purchased $600,000 worth of gold coins using cash. Even after Madeline's son, Bill Murray, reported the three missing, the Austin police showed little interest.
There was no investigation by the Austin Police Department. It was a total joke.
The police reaction may have been based on their belief that Madeline and her family absconded with the atheist's money and that it was an internal matter.
How can somebody that's that famous turn up missing with all that money and still no one wants to look for him? So I decided I'd be part of the team that went looking.
Television news reporter Valerie Williams discovered that John Murray sold his Mercedes-Benz for $15,000, well below the car's value, to this man, Mark Sparrow.
John Murray?
The seller identified himself as John Murray.
Sure, no problem.
Low miles. Yeah, it's 20,000, is that about right?
Yeah.
But when shown a picture of John Murray, Sparrow said it wasn't the man who sold him the car.
He said his name was John Murray, and that's not the guy who sold me the car.
Would you mind taking a look at these mugshots for me?
After reviewing mugshot pictures, Mr. Sparrow identified the impersonator as another missing person, an ex-convict named Danny Fry. This was an interesting coincidence. Danny Fry's family told police that Danny had been working with another ex-convict, David Waters, who had once worked for Madeline O'Hare and had a falling out. In 1993, Madeline hired David Waters as her office manager. Within a few months, she fired him, maintaining he had stolen $50,000 from the atheist organization. Waters was charged with theft. He accepted a plea agreement and paid the money back, and in so doing, avoided jail time. But Madeline was furious that authorities allowed Waters to go free. Using the power of the pen, Madeline wrote an article in her magazine exposing Waters as a thief and implied Waters had homosexual relationships while serving an earlier prison sentence for assault. When Waters saw the article, friends say he vowed revenge. Journalist John McCormick called Waters and asked him if he had anything to do with Madeline's disappearance.
I didn't believe a word he said, but he spoke as though, it was the truth.
McCormick discovered that David Waters, Danny Fry, and another ex-convict, Gary Carr, were all working together in Austin, Texas around the time the O'Hares disappeared in August of 1995. And not long afterwards, a headless, handless male torso was discovered in a Dallas river.
And they'd spent 3 years trying to figure out who it was, but they had no fingerprints, no dental, and they had no missing persons records that matched this disappearance, so they were totally stumped.
McCormick had a hunch that this body was somehow connected to the O'Hare's disappearance. Not long after the O'Hares disappeared, a male torso was found in a Dallas river. Without a head or hands, fingerprints and dental records couldn't be used for identification. Forensic anthropologists estimated the man to be between the ages of 35 and 45. He had a stocky build and a lot of chest hair. The description didn't fit Madeline's son, John. But journalist John McCormick had a hunch. He told police that it might be Danny Fry, the man who had impersonated John Murray when selling his car. Scientists took DNA from Danny Fry's brother and compared it to the blood DNA of the torso. It was a match. Just as McCormick suspected, the dead man in the river was Danny Fry.
The blockbuster was when we could write a story that said that the headless corpse in Dallas was Danny Fry, and by the way, he was last seen with David Waters in Austin, and by the way, he spent his last month in San Antonio at the same time the O'Hares did, so that really kicked in the door.
Suddenly, local, state, and federal law enforcement officials took notice and joined the investigation. When David Waters' ex-girlfriend, Patty Steffen, read about Danny Fry's murder in the newspaper, she immediately called the FBI.
At first, she wanted to tell us small bits and pieces. You have to understand, this was a woman who was terrified.
She gave investigators an important lead. 3 years earlier, she said that David Waters had rented a storage unit around the time the O'Hares disappeared, and that Waters had once gone there with this spray canister. Laboratory tests on the canister revealed it had once contained bleach, which is sometimes used to remove blood evidence. Armed with a search warrant, police found a tiny red stain beneath a piece of aluminum under the wall. It was so small, it was almost invisible. With blood from Madeline's son Bill for comparison, a mitochondrial DNA test revealed the stain was a mixture of two people, Madeline Murray O'Hare and her son John Murray. Next, the FBI searched Waters' apartment.
We found documents that belonged to the O'Hares that were dated after David Waters had been fired from their organization.
Mr. Waters, himself a prior convicted felon who was not allowed to have guns or ammunition, was found to be in illegal possession of about 118 rounds of handgun ammunition of 3 different calibers.
They even found books from the O'Hare Library and a bow saw. The FBI confronted David Waters with the forensic and physical evidence against him. It took quite a while, but eventually, 5.5 years after the O'Hares disappeared, Waters led investigators to a remote burial site at Camp Wood, Texas. Forensic anthropologist Dr. David Glassman was there.
When we hit the first bone, it was kind of interesting in this case because the bone was very large. And it was the upper leg bone. The upper leg bone is the largest bone in our skeleton, but this one was particularly large.
After 21 hours of excavation, 3 adult bodies were uncovered. In each case, the legs had been cut off, possibly to make it easier to transport the bodies.
On one of the bodies, the hair was very well intact, a female skull, and the hair was braided down the back of the neck of the individual. There were some remnants of clothes that were found, but no clothes that were intact.
There had been some effort to burn the remains. not to the point of cremation, but in order to destroy maybe the clothing or any other, DNA evidence that might be there.
As the remains were unearthed, shining in the afternoon sun was the metal plate of an artificial hip. Medical records revealed that Madeleine O'Hare had undergone hip replacement surgery several years before her disappearance. The serial number of the hip in Madeleine's medical file matched the number on the hip in the grave. Forensic odontologists compared the O'Hare's dental records to the skulls in the grave and confirmed that these were the remains of Madeleine, her son John, and granddaughter Robin.
For John Murray, when he was in the grave and uncovered, he did have a plastic bag over his skull. And when the plastic bag was removed, there were small fractures that occurred to the skull itself, indicating some blunt trauma had been done to him during the time of his death.
The cause of death for Madeleine and Robin couldn't be determined by looking at the bones. But since their heads were covered in plastic, it was assumed they were asphyxiated. But investigators found something else: an extra head and 2 extra hands. The head showed a single gunshot wound at the base of the skull. Forensic scientists used a photo superimposition technique for identification. They suspected the skull was that of Danny Fry, the man whose torso was found in the Dalles River. Scientists took a photograph of Danny Fry, then photographed the skull at the same angle and size. The 2 photographs were superimposed to see if the facial features matched the skull.
For example, the distance between the eyes and the shape of the nose, and the distance between the nose to the teeth, and the distance across the cheeks. And every area that I examined in the video superimposition matched up.
The motive for the O'Hare's murder had been revenge. But why had Danny Fry been murdered? The forensic evidence found years after the O'Hare's disappearance tied David Waters and his 2 associates, Danny Fry and Gary Carr, to their murders. David Waters' girlfriend, Patty Steffens, told police that Waters kidnapped the O'Hares because of the unflattering and inflammatory article Madeleine had written about him.
His girlfriend said he fantasized about torturing her, cutting off her toes. And so basically, I think this whole thing came down to not just money, but really ugly personal chemistry between 2 dysfunctional personalities.
For David Waters, it was about revenge. He wanted the ultimate revenge on Madeleine O'Hare, and the money was just a byproduct.
After kidnapping the O'Hares, Waters forced John Murray to withdraw $600,000 from the Atheist bank account and then took him to the jewelry store to exchange the $600,000 for gold coins. The O'Hares were most likely dead by the time Danny Fry impersonated John Murray to sell his car. But why was Danny Fry killed too? The answer was his drinking.
We knew that Danny Fry drank, and loose lips sink ships. And by what David had told Bob Fry about his brother, and that was, your brother has a big mouth, could be the thing that caused his death.
But David Waters made several crucial mistakes.
Sure is.
Although Waters cleaned the room with water and bleach, scientists still found a tiny speck of blood 3 years later, identified by mitochondrial DNA as that of John Murray and Madeleine O'Hare. But removing Danny Fry's head and hands still didn't prevent identification. DNA and skull photo superimposition were all scientists needed. Ironically, After stealing the $600,000 from the O'Hares, Waters never got the opportunity to enjoy the money. It was stolen from him.
Well, his first mistake was putting his money in a storage locker up in Austin and having three bozos from San Antonio who were looking for used TVs open up the locker with a master key and find a suitcase with $500,000 in gold.
Stand back.
For his role in this case, David Waters was sentenced to 80 years in prison. His accomplice, Gary Carr, was sentenced to life in prison.
Mr. Carr fully admitted his role in involvement with David Waters in the abduction, robbery, and murder of the O'Hares. And he indicated that he had assisted in dismembering the bodies and putting the body parts in 55-gallon drums in a storage unit here in Austin.
It was a nice, neat ending. They found the bodies, the bad guy goes to prison, and, you know, the hero's right off into the sunset.
For his persistence, John McCormick is one of the heroes of this case. And forensic science played an important role, too.
Well, I mean, this was definitely one that, if it wasn't for DNA, we'd probably still be scratching our heads as to who this person was.
A lot of times I kind of forget about the case when the next case comes in. And so I really don't have one that always jumps to mind. But I'll remember this one for a long time.
Two eyewitnesses said they saw a man in a pickup truck deliberately run over another man, not once, but twice. Police could not find the victim's body or the pickup truck. And when police tried to talk to the two eyewitnesses, they had disappeared too. All police could find were some blood stains in the snow. But would this be enough to prove murder?
The puzzle is getting there.
On January 29, 2001, a member of a motorcycle gang in Duluth, Minnesota, called police to report his roommate, 27-year-old Eric Schriefer, missing. He said he hadn't seen Schriefer for the last 4 days, and he was worried.
Usually that doesn't happen. People that report missing persons usually call in within the first 6 to 8 hours in a panic.
Well, great. I appreciate your assistance. Have a good day.
Officer Ryan Temple was assigned to the case.
Hi, this is Officer Temple. I attempted to contact all the area hospitals, all the county jails in the area, the Duluth Detoxification Center. Also tried to contact the victim's family, his mother, his father, also his employer.
No one had heard from Eric Schriefer. He worked as an apprentice for the Boilermakers Union 647.
Eric was very quiet and reserved. Very good performance on the job site.
But he hadn't been to work either. Police found Schriefer's 3 automobiles still in his driveway. His wallet and winter coat were inside his house. Police discovered that Schriefer was last seen at a party in a motorcycle clubhouse. 2 motorcycle club members who were at that party, Charlie Johnson and Herbert Zingle, said that Schriefer got into an altercation with Joseph Wayman, a member of a rival motorcycle club. The two were separated and escorted outside. Where the fight resumed. The witnesses say Waymanen easily won the fight. While Schriefer was still on the ground, Waymanen did the unthinkable. He got into his truck, started the engine, and intentionally ran over Schriefer. Amazingly, he wasn't killed. Waymanen then put his truck in reverse and ran over him a second time. Fearing for their own safety, the witnesses ran back inside. When they looked out again, both the truck and Schriefer were gone.
There was something more to this story than just a missing person.
The witnesses admitted they were drinking heavily that night and weren't sure of all the details. And the alleged fight took place almost a week earlier, and the inclement weather complicated the investigation.
There was a 4-day time lapse, and we had received approximately 8 inches of slushy snow in between time. It made it a very difficult crime scene. Once we got there, there wasn't a whole lot to see to start with.
When police looked into Joseph Waymanen's background, they discovered he had never been in trouble with the law. He was an ex-Marine who had served during the Gulf War and was a member of the Thunderbird motorcycle gang, although not an active member. Investigators needed to find some forensic evidence to corroborate the witness's story. Police wanted to find some way to verify the claims of 2 eyewitnesses that Eric Schriefer was run over twice by Joseph Waymanen in his truck.
From the very beginning, we had to try and put the case together to understand exactly what had happened, and then attempt to try and locate where possibly the body had gone to after that period of time. So initially, we were trying to put the puzzle together before we could find out where the body may have gone to.
Police set up a command post in the alley where the fight allegedly took place. Working in sub-zero temperatures, officers uncovered the top layer of new snow in order to search for blood. They were successful. They discovered a blood trail that led from the alley all the way to the end of a parking area, nearly 80 yards away. At the end of the trail, police found one very large pool of blood in the snow.
Due to the amount of blood that we found in that one spot, and the fact that there was no blood after that, as we continued to excavate the snow past that point, we believe the body was loaded into the truck.
Medical examiner Dr. Donald Kundle was called to the scene.
A person to produce that much blood in one localized area had to still have their heart beating. They may have suffered serious injuries, but their heart had to still be beating in order to produce that much blood coming from a wound.
Once the heart stops beating, a body no longer bleeds. The blood evidence suggested that the victim was lodged under the truck and was dragged 80 yards. The pool of blood at the end of the trail indicated the victim was still alive and had been picked up from the snow. However, Dr. Kundle told police that without immediate medical attention, the victim would have died within 4 hours. To collect the blood evidence, police used a standard coffee filter to separate the blood from the snow. The filter trapped the red and white blood cells and allowed plasma and melting snow to drip through. just as the filter traps coffee grounds, not allowing them to drip into the coffee. Without a body, police had another problem: how to tell whether this was the blood of Eric Schriefer. But police got a break. They learned that Schriefer had undergone hand surgery a few years earlier when he had accidentally shot himself. The hospital saved Schriefer's tissue sample that had been sent to the pathology lab for analysis. The tissue was preserved in paraffin, which halts the degenerative process, preserving the tissue indefinitely. The blood DNA found in the snow was compared to the DNA from Schriefer's tissue sample. It matched. Police canvassed area hospitals, health clinics, and doctors' offices. No one with the type of injury Schriefer would have sustained had been treated. Convinced that Eric Schriefer could not have survived without treatment, the medical examiner signed a death certificate.
Yes, we do have a homicide, and one of the worst types for a detective to have, a homicide without a body.
The next step was for police to speak with the driver of the truck, Joseph Waymanen, but he was uncooperative.
He started to shut the door on me. At that point, I reached over and grabbed him by the shirt, informed him that he was under arrest for murder.
Police impounded Waymanen's vehicle. But a forensic analysis found no evidence of an accident. They found no trace of blood, body fluids, or hair anywhere on the truck or underneath.
The crime lab is well respected by law enforcement agencies in this state. They've got the best equipment, the most sophisticated gear. And if they couldn't find any evidence in the truck, then you started wondering, well, how could that be? How could somebody drive a truck over somebody twice and there's no hair, no blood, nothing? And that didn't seem right to me.
The lack of forensic evidence wasn't the only problem. Witnesses' credibility was another. During police questioning, both witnesses admitted they were inebriated at the time of the alleged accident. One said, quote, "I don't remember who was at the house, who came back. We were sitting there drinking. I know there was people in and out. Like I say, I'm drunk. I stay drunk as I can." And Joseph Waymanen maintained his innocence. With two inebriated eyewitnesses, no forensic evidence in Waymanen's truck, and no body to prove there had been a murder, prosecutors knew they didn't have enough evidence to go to trial. Investigators needed more evidence in the Eric Schriefer case, and the search for his body intensified. Police decided to find out how their prime suspect, Joseph Waymanen, spent his leisure time, and with whom.
I came across one of his friends and asked when's the last time he'd spent time with Waymanen, where was that he spent the time with him in Plymouth Beach, and within the week previous he was ice fishing with his friend.
Police had a general description of the ice house that Waymanen and his friend used, but they weren't sure where it was located on the vast St. Louis River. Nevertheless, police were assigned to search the area.
He came across an ice house. We weren't quite sure whether it was the one that we were necessarily looking for, but as he was looking into the ice house, he found a hole that was larger than your normal ice fishing hole, probably the size of one that a human could be slipped into.
An underwater dive team searched the frigid waters of the St. Louis River for Schriefer's body. Conditions were miserable. It was snowing with wind gusts up to 30 miles per hour. Divers could stay under the freezing water for only 30 to 45 minutes before suffering hypothermia. After days of searching, they found nothing. Then investigators got more bad news. Their case against Waymanen was based almost entirely on the testimony of 2 eyewitnesses who claimed they saw a fight between Schriefer and Waymanen. But when police went to question them further, the 2 had vanished.
We have actually documented testimony from family members of the 2 witnesses that the Thunderbirds were approached by the Hells Angels and in turn approached the 2 witnesses and asked them to leave the community. Downright threatened them.
With no body, no forensic evidence against Waymanen, and now no witnesses, the defense filed a motion to dismiss the case. The prosecution was in a difficult position.
All the while, too, we are looking for the body. And we're looking for some more physical evidence to tie Joe Waymanen into this. We were convinced that he was the person responsible for the death, but he wasn't saying anything.
The more police thought about Waymanen's truck and the eyewitness testimony, the more they realized how unlikely it was that the undercarriage of his truck would be so clean, especially in the middle of winter. In the words of investigators, it was almost too clean.
Yeah.
So nearly 6 months after the murder, they examined the truck once again.
We decided we would take the truck apart piece by piece until we were satisfied that there was no evidence to be found, or we actually found evidence, and that's what we did.
We had a belief all along that if the truck was used in transport of the body, there always has to be some type of forensic evidence that's left behind. Or in any kind of crime scene. I strongly believe that there's always forensic evidence that's left behind in any crime scene.
8:20.
They hoisted Waymanen's truck up on a rack in the...
Oh my! You're getting there. Wonder what the next bastard one's going to be.
Ruth Ann said, wouldn't it be funny if it was the same one?
No, it wouldn't. You give me a hand with that.
Right, I'm going to call it no1. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will be live later on with The Price is Right. I'm going to play that for tonight.
Yes.
So I will see you guys later. Lots of love to you all. Take care now.
Ooh,
Bye.
that's a big hole. What needs filling?
Bye everybody.
Bye everyone.